What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be making some AI art in MidJourney. If you don't know what MidJourney is an AI art generating piece of software that will basically allow you to make any kind of art that you want here. And today we're going to be putting in logos and companies into different parts of time. One of the coolest things about MidJourney is that you can put things into decades and even things that don't fit. So, for example, you could put in computers in ancient Egypt, and we're going to be taking a look at how to do that. And of course, I'm going to show you how to do the prompts as well. My name is John, and I run a blog called PromptHero-AI where you can check out how to make this AI art. Let's get started. So for the first one, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting in McDonald's in 1880 Japan. And I'm also going to be using a specific kind of style here called the ukiyo-e flat design style. I will also put it in 16:9 aspect ratio. So as you can see, this is the first result here, and it's actually pretty good. I think all of these look really good. You can kind of see how the McDonald's colors get put into this, as well as you can see people are kind of drinking drinks from McDonald's. But of course, there are no burgers. So what you have to do sometimes in MidJourney is you have to be a little bit more specific. So this time I added in people eating hamburgers at McDonald's in 1880 Japan. You can see the McDonald's logo here. Now, sometimes the logo shows up, sometimes it doesn't, and they probably do this for legal reasons. I don't actually know, but it doesn't matter because a lot of these look pretty good. In fact, I think all four of these look great, but number 3 is definitely the best. So what I do is I make versions of it and then I upscale it again, and you can see that this result is actually pretty good. Now, for whatever reason, MidJourney does really well with Japanese content. In fact, I could do a whole video on Japanese content just like this. Now, anyway, let's move to the next picture. So in this picture, I wanted to put an Apple store, like an Apple computer store in Victorian England in 1895. Now, I always put in the year so that MidJourney kind of knows what to kind of look at. And what I think MidJourney does behind the scenes is that it looks at pictures or paintings from that particular time. After working with MidJourney for quite a bit, I think this is what it does here. So I always put in a year. Now, there are many things that you can add to the prompt to make things more detailed, and there's a specific language that you have to learn, but detailed is pretty good. Now, the first result here is not exactly what I'm looking for. It's literally a store for apples, not Apple computers. So what I did instead was I added in an Apple computer store in Victorian England because I wanted the computers to be in Victorian England. And as you can see, these are actually all pretty good. Now, I kept a lot of things the same here, but there's another thing that I needed to add here. I needed to add what the people were doing. So I added people on Victorian iPhones and MacBook Pros. Now, sometimes MidJourney takes an object like an iPhone and puts it in the Victorian era, and it's like literally like an iPhone in the Victorian era. And sometimes it designs the iPhone as it were to be designed in the Victorian era. And this goes for kind of any kind of decade here. And in this case, it didn't really do that, but I'm kind of happy with the result anyway. So as you can see, this is pretty good here. I think that people looking at their phones and on the computers is really good. So I decided to re-roll it again, and I think that version 3 of this one looks the best here. Like, people are actually in the store, they're looking at computers and their phones, etc. So what I did is I made some variations here, and then I picked my favorite variation, and as you can see, I thought this was pretty good. Now, for whatever reason, the guy on the right-hand side is angry. Maybe his iPhone isn't working. Maybe he has too many subscriptions. I don't know what it is. But if you really wanted to fix this, it's probably best to go into Photoshop because redoing the prompt at this point would probably not work out the way you want it to. Next up, let's take a look at what Teslas would look like in the Edwardian era. Now, if you don't know when that period is, it's roughly kind of after 1901 when Queen Victoria died here. And I basically said 1910. So this one worked out pretty well. As you can see, we have 4 images of a kind of futuristic car for 1910. And what I actually did was put the word in 1900s here. Now, you could put the word 1910 here, but MidJourney has a very specific command for 1900s. And it's kind of anything before, let's say, 1930. Now, I added in the words detailed and perfection. So detailed will make sure the photo is detailed, and perfection means that it will do a really good job with it. And again, I made it 16:9 aspect ratio. So I thought that version 2 looked the best, so I made some variations of it, and then I upscaled my favorite one. And I thought this was a pretty good result, and sometimes MidJourney things come out really easily, sometimes you really have to fight it, but in this case I thought it was pretty easy. Next up, let's take a look at putting in some technology into a different decade. In this case, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding in the original Nintendo Entertainment System in the 1950s. So what I did here is I said kids playing the Nintendo Entertainment System in the 1950s, 1950s decor, detailed, realistic, and of course 16:9 aspect ratio. Now I find that this 16:9 aspect ratio is a very good aspect ratio to use. It's better than 2:1 or 4:3, and for whatever reason, it just gives you really good results. So anyway, let's take a look at this image. This image isn't bad here. Now the other thing that I did is I added in 1950s decor. When you add in the word decor to a date, it will give kind of the furniture styles of the time. And so what I really wanted MidJourney to do here was take in kind of like a game system and put it in the 1950s. So I have to say in the 1950s and 1950s decor. So this image is okay, but it could look a heck of a lot better. So what I did was add in looking at the TV, and that way all the kids would be looking at the TV. Now I think version 1 looks the best here, and it looks pretty good, so I decided to make some variations. I made some variations, and then I upscaled it here. Now one thing I could have done here is add in like a video game on the screen, but in this case I think it looks pretty good. If you really wanted to, you could just take this into Photoshop and kind of put in Mario or something like that. Overall, I thought this was pretty good. It put in a game system in the 1950s and it matched all the clothing and style, etc. So good job, MidJourney. The next one was a little bit more challenging. I decided to put Nike into the Roman era, and I wanted to use the word Roman mural. You can actually do a lot of different styles from history, and this one I thought was kind of interesting. So this first image is pretty good, however, there's no logos here. So what I did was I decided to add in the words Nike logo here, and you can see here, it's taking a bunch of Nike ads and kind of mishmashing things together here. Now what I did is I made a lot more images, but this one, believe it or not, was the best, and I think version 3 is the best here, and it's kind of like a product logo with the Roman mural here. And then what I did was I decided to upscale it here, and as you can see, it looked okay. So we have a person playing basketball in like a Roman kind of statue, and then you have like kind of a Roman mural with a shoe in front of it, and I thought this was okay, but it wasn't really good. Sometimes things don't work out the way you wanted to. If I was really concerned about this, I would maybe do 2 or 3 times starting over again, and again, sometimes it works in MidJourney, sometimes it doesn't. Now let's take a look at another era here. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting in people playing the Xbox in the Baroque era. So what I decided to do was say people playing Xbox looking at a TV in the Baroque era, and I used the word ornate and perfection. Whenever you use the word ornate, you're going to get a very detailed result here, and of course I'm using the 16:9 aspect ratio. So I thought all of these were pretty good here, but I think number 4 is the best here. For whatever reason, the color scheme as well as just the general look of the image looks pretty good here. So I decided to make 4 variations and then I upscaled it here. I think this is really good for an upscale, and I also think that the person using a tablet in addition to the TV in the Baroque era is also pretty good. And I also think that there's a lot of people playing here is a pretty interesting idea. Last but not least, let's put Burger King in the 1400s. So what I decided to do is add a prompt saying people eating burgers at Burger King in the 1400s, Burger King logo, and painted of course by the one and only Leonardo da Vinci. I added in detailed and perfection to get us a really good result, as well as made it a 16:9 aspect ratio. Now I think all of these are actually pretty good, but the second version I think is probably the best just because we have a bunch of kings eating a burger, drinking wine. So MidJourney has a lot of rules about substances, but I think alcohol is something that you can have in MidJourney. Anyway, I made some variations here and I chose the best one and upscaled it. And I think this is actually a pretty good result. Now, I'm not sure if this is actually what Leonardo da Vinci would have painted, but nevertheless, it is certainly people eating burgers in the 1400s, which is exactly what I was going for. All right, so that concludes this video. I want to know which image was your favorite here. Please comment down below. This is a new channel and we don't get so many comments, so please comment and we definitely will read it here. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as these videos do take a lot of time to make, and it would really help me out if you smash that like button and subscribed. In addition, you can go to PromptHero-AI to see a lot of blog posts on how to build this art, as well as all of the art images from this video here. It will be posted there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.